Rachel?
Is
What
it
did you
sideways
do
or
to the-
vertical?
To the
Is it on
stand?
right?
Let's
Check
see.
it.
Okay, slide. We're good, I think.
Okay,
Okay.
cool. All right, let's put this back in here without me dropping it.
Is it going? I don't know.
It is. You're live.
Okay, cool. Feels weird that I'm
Ready?
gonna have to. Oh, totally. Let's do this. Feels weird that I'm gonna have to talk like this.
Yeah,
at
well, you know what?
I'm trying to be all like.
Yeah, I don't think you'll really. Honestly, as long as it's somewhat close, like,
Okay.
yeah, we'll be good.
Okay.
And it's not like you talk super quiet. Usually it's like if someone's in here whispering, they really need to be up on it.
Got it.
But I usually am about like this.
Okay. This is so exciting.
I know, it's be fun.
All right,
I feel like I
Michael,
want to
can I
tell
get a
people
level
over
on
there
you
to
really quick?
comment, like,
Test,
say
test,
hi.
test, test.
Can I get a level on you really quick?
Test, test, test.
Perfect. All right. Well, you ladies are ready to start whenever you want. You got water. You got water.
Yeah,
I think you're on at
we're all
every
good.
angle.
Hi.
Glare from my head probably sends
Yeah.
more over there, but
Hopefully they can see us past that glare.
yeah. No, we're trying to keep that. There we go. All right, you
Awesome.
ready?
We are ready to go.
In 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to HER614. This is the show where we bring on extraordinary women from the Columbus, Ohio community. We share their stories, talk about their successes, even their failures, in hopes of inspiring others to get started on their journey towards success. I am Michael Cheney. You can check us out on Facebook at HER614. Please like the page and help us build our audience. And if you know any amazing women that should be part of what we're doing, please reach out and let us know. Okay, today's guest. I'm super excited because I have Alicia St. Germain on the show. And I first heard this amazing person speak at the Women's Conference in October, and I held on every single word because she's that good. Alicia, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, I'm so happy that you're here because we're going to talk about what you do every day, which is your business mindset coach.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Okay, so you have your life coaches out there, and I specifically work with women who are in business. That could be entrepreneurs, that could be intrapreneurs, which are like those people who are kind of running a division within a company
Yes.
or an executive. And really, it's not about anyone's strategy. As people go out into the world, they think a strategy is going to be what breaks you through. And it's all about how you manage your mind. You get your mind right, and everything will click into place. So it's really about helping people shift their mind around what they're trying to achieve.
That's good because I think our first attack in business, we always think it is strategy, right? But lo and behold, it really comes back to the mindset, because even your mindset plays into, if you have a great strategy, your mindset is going to play into how you roll that strategy out, right?
Or if you roll it out.
Ooh, talk a little bit more about that.
So before I became a business mindset coach, I, for a long time, trained people in real estate. And what really, really bugged me was people would spend tens of thousands of dollars on training and figuring out how to get it to work. And most of them never actually launched, never actually made an offer, never actually applied the training, or kind of applied it, but never made any money, and then decided to go back to a job with a lot of credit card debt.
Sure.
And it just didn't feel good. And I knew that more people could be successful and I could affect more lives by, you could read a book and learn to do real estate. You can learn from a really great real estate investor or a mentor. But I knew I could affect so many more people's lives if I was actually working towards the mindset piece.
Exactly. And as a matter of fact, as you were saying that, I was thinking about the books that I'm reading, right? And it's like you get all this information and then sometimes it just sits with you. What do you do with the information? How do you get yourself to actually apply it? Why can't we apply it? Why do we hold on to it? What is the big hang up when it comes to our mindset? Do you know?
So it's different for everyone, and it really comes down to your childhood. Like, what did you learn? What did you observe of your parents? What was your life experience? and what it taught you about how the world works.
So you mean we really have to dig into that?
You do.
We have to just
You
do it?
You do. You do. And it doesn't have to be traumatic. It's not like you had to have this very traumatic childhood. It's simple things like a grade you got on a test. Somebody said something to you. I mean, the reality is, and this is the thing about being a mindset coach, is like you freak out about the fact that you're probably going to screw your kids up.
Sure.
That you're probably going to have something that they're going to have to work through as adults. So it's our responsibility as adults really to do the work. And it's going to be my kids' responsibility to do the work to get whatever they want in life. And more important to me than saying I'm gonna raise them perfectly is to say, like, hey, this is what it looks like. It's okay to do the work. It's okay to dig in and figure out what's there, because it's going to be all okay. We're all imperfect.
Right, exactly.
So,
well, when you were at the women's conference, you talked about this concept of time, which I loved. And it's something that if we don't really think about and try and keep a great, strong perspective on it, we can lose it, right? So I thought today would be perfect. I want you to talk to us about time, like roll it out there, put it out there for us. What does time mean in this, this thing we called life?
So there's, to money is time. Like that's the biggest cliche out there, because time is more precious than money. I can always get money back, but I can't get time back. And we literally cannot control how much of it we have. We can do our best to take care of ourselves. We can get medicine, we can see doctors, but ultimately we can't control how much time we have. And the number one thing when I talk to especially women, this seems to be the big factor for women, is they really want more time with people that they love. And they really cherish the time with people they love, and some people do things for freedom. Some people have different motivating factors, but for whatever reason, for women, I think we get, maybe it's because we're moms, a lot of us, not everybody, but we get like how fast that goes when you start to raise kids.
You're right. I think that when you do have kids, it immediately changes your perspective on it, right?
Totally.
Because you can see, how they're babies and then they're walking and then before you know it, they're through high school and they're in college. And you're right, you look back and you say, where did the last 20 years go?
Right.
So my question is how do you stay in that moment? Because I think most people would agree you can't get time back, right? And oftentimes it seems like you don't realize that until something tragic happens or you have, a sick loved one or something. So how do you stay present and treat time, the way that it should be treated and really care for it? What does that look like?
So I think I'm going to recommend a book, because this book totally changed my perspective, and it's The Perfect Day Formula by Craig Ballantyne. And my mentor had recommended that I read it. And it's, we are taught, we build our life around work. We build our life around what we do to make money. And it doesn't make us happy. And so the whole premise is really about building your life around what matters most to you. And the idea is that you end your day doing the things that matter most to you. So as soon as I started to shift and really, I literally lay out a calendar for the year and I put the most important things in there, which is my family and my friends and my relationships, the calling that I have in the world to help other women really take control of their life and be able to achieve the big things that they want to achieve. And the work fits in around it.
Sure. So my question was going to be, you lay out your calendar, how do you stick to it?
Well, you're not going to be perfect.
Okay.
We already acknowledged we're not all perfect.
Because I created a workout schedule and I still can't seem to stick to that.
So you have to trip it too. You have to trip and change the mindset. So one of the things that I do, that I've implemented, is I get up super early. And I've heard there are those that'll be like, you don't have to get up super early to be successful. 100%, I absolutely agree. But if what you're doing right now isn't working, then don't be the person that sits there and says, I'm just not wired to get up early, because what you're doing right now isn't working. So change it.
Well, and going back to the mindset conversation, if you're telling yourself I'm not wired to get up early, then sure enough,
right,
you're not ever going to be wired, because you're listening to what your mind is telling yourself.
Absolutely. So like, I just went through something like this. So I always get up really early, like 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, the alarm set. I'm usually up by 4:30, 4:50 in the morning. And I do it because if I get to the end of my day and I haven't had personal time for my rituals, the things that that bring me joy, I stay up way too late. Like, I can't just watch like one show. I've got to like binge watch because I want to see what happens. Or so what I realized is when I don't have my personal time, then I stay up too late and then I'm tired all day. But if I get up early, I only have a finite amount of time for myself. So it's somewhere between 4:30 and 7 a.m., maybe 6:30. The kiddos are up. But I got my uninterrupted quiet time, read, reflect, get ready, just do the things that make me feel really good. And what I shift around is not that, oh, I don't like to get up early, because I was never somebody who got up early. It's, oh, I feel better when I get up early.
Right.
And so it's the mindset shift around it is not saying it's a drag to get up early or I'm not wired that way. It's saying I'm doing this for me because I feel better. I'm a better mom. I show up better for my kids. I show up better for my clients because I've poured into myself first.
Right, exactly. Have you ever used the Mel Robbins technique? Because I know you're a fan of her, like I am. Yes, where her, you know, what she's really, I think, kind of built her career on is this technique. It's kind of like a brain hack. You know, it's hard to get up. It's hard to, especially all of a sudden, start getting up earlier. And what she says is, as soon as that alarm goes off, you count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then boom, you get up. And that has a way of interrupting your brain waves or what have you, so that it kind of tricks your mind into doing it.
Totally. You're engaging a completely different part of the brain, right?
Yes.
There's an emotional side of me that says, oh, I hate getting up. Oh, I don't want to do this. And then you start counting. It's the same thing as like when you're angry and count to 10. You do it with children, like, okay, let's count, because it engages a completely different, more logical side of the brain that can actually overcome that.
Yes, I will tell you, I applied Mel's technique and it worked for me.
Yeah.
Now, I've gotten off track and I need to get back on the early morning kick, but I'm right there with you. It seems to me personally, when I can get up in the morning and I can get things done, I already feel like I have, you know, succeeded because I have gotten so many things done, and I've done it before a lot of people have gotten up yet.
Yeah.
So you know, if you're someone that's somewhat of a competitive nature like me, you know, I was an athlete, even just knowing, okay, I'm up, I'm doing it, and I'm doing it before most of the people I know are even out of bed, that kind of gives me a lift or a boost.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You feel like you get to a point where you're like, man, I am totally rocking this day.
Exactly.
And that energy that you take into your day is magnetic. Like it's like a snowball. It keeps going. So the idea is I win early and I keep winning. And if you've ever met, like, there's some people who walk around in life that you know, you listen to them and you're like, wow, this person has a lot of junk that comes their way.
Sure.
Like, and it just keeps piling on and piling on. It's like, well, it keeps piling on because that's what you're focusing on. So if you get up and you start winning early and you start showing up for yourself, for the people you love, for your calling in the world, you feel good and more good comes. And even when bad stuff happens, you're able to work through it. Again, all mindset. You don't have to break down. You don't have to if you're reading, speaking of Mel Robbins, if you're a fan, Take Control of Your Life. So good. Highly recommend. Grab it on Audible because it's actual interviews of her going through some coaching sessions, and I think it's so relatable to so many people. But the idea is, like, emotions only stay in our body for 90 seconds, and that's Harvard research. So the only way you have to stay in a bad mood is if you keep thinking about the thing that makes you in a bad mood.
Right. I mean, when you say it, that's simply, I mean, it seems like so easy, right?
It does.
So, but why is it not easy? So how do we, you know, we're talking about time and how we create more time for the things in our life that we want. I mean, the truth is that's why we have a business, right? Or that's why we have a certain job. Like our job, our career in life should hopefully help us create space for the things that we really want. create money for the things that we really want to do. How do you have, I almost hate the work-life balance thing that people want to talk about, because it looks different for everybody, I think. But how do you create that space with a job, with a career? I mean, you're a business owner. How do you create the space to still do the family things, the traveling, or whatever it is that's important to you?
I think it's not even I think, I know. It comes down to the fact that you can't be all things in all areas at all times. And it's deciding to you what's the most important. What can you live with letting slide? I have a nanny for 16 hours a week to help, because I did not like that my kids were reflecting back to me that I'm only on my phone or in my computer. And I didn't like that. And I would so much rather them have fun with someone else than have that vision of me. I would rather be with them and present at that moment. And I think sometimes we try to do everything.
Yes.
So I had to be okay with the fact that sometimes my dishes aren't where I would put them, or sometimes the towels aren't folded the way I would fold them. But my nanny's amazing. She's taking care of it. It's put away. She's gifted at it. And my kids are super happy. She cooks with them and bakes with them and does crafts with them.
Yeah, and it's sometimes I'll hear people say things like, well, I can't really afford that, or I'd love to have someone clean the house because it would free up extra time for me to spend with the family or what have you. What do you say to someone who says, I can't afford to do that, I can't afford the nanny? Do you have a solution for that?
So I think you look at what it's costing you. And money, there's this idea when somebody says that to me, that money is finite. And we can always find money for the things that we want. I mean, that's why people walk around with cell phones and video games and ability to go to the movies. We can always find money for things that we really want. And if you really want your life to look a certain way, you find the money for it. You can create the money for it. The other piece is oftentimes women do jobs that if they were to actually invest that into their business, invest that time into their business, and when I say jobs, jobs that they could pay someone else to do. And if they invested that time into their business, they would actually make more money. And it would allow them more free time, and it would allow them to hire someone to do things within their business that they don't have to do. That's the other piece, is within your business or within a company. Sometimes they don't have the money to pay for the employee, and yet it's so everybody's doing multiple jobs, and they would actually make more.
Right. You know what? That's an important topic, and you and I have talked about this before, because you also kind of think it's hard for us to give up control. So oftentimes we might not hire that assistant, or maybe we're not hiring the nanny because it's more of a control thing. Can you kind of speak to that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So what I tell, sometimes we get into this almost a martyr type way of being where, and I'm not saying that I don't do this too, but it's I have to go take care of a family member, let's say, or do something for a family member, and it seems like they don't appreciate it. And then you crab about the family member, or you crab about something that's not working, and you turn into this martyr. And what happens is, and what I say to my clients is, you can't be mad at that person. They're operating, or they're coming from whatever it is they're capable of. I like to assume that everybody, and this is Brene Brown, which I know you're also a fan of hers, but I assume that everybody is doing their best. And I really believe that. Everybody is doing their best. And so you can't be mad at that person because you went there to help them and they weren't good enough. They didn't show up the way you needed them to show up. Because the reality is, you're going because if you didn't go do that, or you didn't go take care of that person, you wouldn't feel like a good person. So you are doing it for you because you feel good. And if you lead from that, you don't have that anger or that martyrness, or you're like, wow, I'm doing this for me because this is what helps me sleep at night.
I like that. That's definitely, you have to really change your thought process on that. I for like months was trying to bring on an assistant, and it's like I couldn't figure out how to do it. And are you telling me I have control issues?
We all do. We all do, because it makes us feel safe.
Okay.
Like we all, it's everything that you do. Just know this. Every decision you do, you're doing it because it either makes you feel good, or because you're trying to avoid feeling bad. And
trying to understand that is the battle, because then you can change your behavior, right?
Right.
Awesome. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to HER614, and we are talking about the concept of time with Alicia St. Germain. She is a business mindset coach. Alicia, what type of clients do you normally take on? Like, what's your ideal client?
So I typically work with females who are entrepreneurs, executives, intrapreneurs working in a division, kind of running their own company inside of a bigger company. High-performing women who are super driven and also looking to balance and bring in more time for their family. We talked about the fact that we don't like that word work-life balance, but they are not separated. They're not compartmentalized. We are human beings, and we don't function in a silo. We're at work one way, we're at home another way. So it's really about having that whole life the way you want it to look, and resisting a lot of the things that we think society expects of us as women.
Yes. So that comes back to how do we break that, right? How do we break the thought that society expects something from us? Like, how do we get to the point where we just don't care? Because isn't that part of the challenge, is letting that go so that you can create your own path?
Absolutely. And I wouldn't even say it's so much as I don't care, because that's kind of cold and callous, right? And I care so much
Sure.
for people. It's more like you're so confident in who you are, and you know that you're doing the best that you can, and that it's good enough, and also you can always be better. You can be good enough and still want to be better without being a perfectionist, because perfectionism keeps you from even moving forward at all. So it's really about saying to yourself, when, maybe somebody who doesn't live your life gives you a piece of advice. I know people hate that, right? So they give you a piece of advice. So you could either get upset about it, or you could say, okay, that person was doing the best that they could for me. They care about me. They want it to be better, or they want their life to be better, and they're trying to fix themselves by giving you that advice. But they are in their own container. And I'm so confident that what I'm doing is right for me, that it's okay for you to have your opinion, and it's okay for me to be over here and have my opinion. So nobody has to be wrong.
Sure. Well, I just told you I'm reading one of Brene Brown's books now, and I love her concept of talking about the arena. And the people outside the arena don't get to actually judge what you're doing, because you're the one in there battling.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're talking about in a way?
It is. And I love, Brene just makes me laugh so much. But it is. Unless you're in the arena getting your face kicked in or whatever she says, I don't need your opinion. But for me, I'm at a point in my life where if you want to give me your opinion, that's totally okay. I can hear you, I can appreciate you, I can love you for that, but it doesn't mean I'm going to take it. And if you get upset that I didn't take your advice, then that's really yours to work through. That's not me,
You kind of, I feel like you kind of have a very friendly, kind approach in terms of, go ahead, you can give me your opinion, but I can also hold the opinion that you might be just doing that for yourself.
Yeah.
To make yourself feel better.
Totally.
Which really doesn't impact me.
Right. Because remember, go back to the person that you show up for, that you at first you're mad at, right? Because you're like, oh my God, why couldn't you be better? I have to do this for you now. And I just said, no, you're doing that for you because it makes you feel like a good person. So maybe that person needs that.
Right.
In order for them to feel like a good person. And I'm okay with that.
Very good. Very good. So can you give me one more idea surrounding this concept of time that you think we're often missing?
I think that we spend too much time with people, with relationships that you don't need to spend time in. And it's okay to let those relationships go. I think you look at who can you love unconditionally? Who can you pour into? And even if they cannot show up at their best, you'd still be there for them. And if you can't do that for someone, let them go. Let them go, because that's not the kind thing for you to have an expectation for them to show up in a certain way for you.
Now, if we want to break this down into like very simple topics, like, say you have a friend that reaches out and says, hey, I want to get lunch. Do you want to get lunch or drinks? And you kind of feel like maybe you don't have kind of a lot in common with that person anymore. My question is, do you go have the lunch or drinks so that you don't feel bad about saying no?
You do whatever it is you have to do to be able to sleep at night. And if you're annoyed with that, then look within and say, okay, what am I trying to serve here? The reality is, if you don't really enjoy being with someone, they're probably going to feel it too. So if you just let the relationship go, what I've found is they typically burn out themselves. If you don't reach out, if you don't initiate that, then they go away on their own. You don't have to be like, I'm sorry, like, we can't hang out anymore because you're kind of a not so cool person for me. But you don't have to be mean.
Sure.
You just let it go.
Yeah, and because it really is about connection, it's a two-way street. And if you're really not connected, then they're probably already feeling that anyway.
Right.
So you don't have to feel guilty, and you don't have to go out to the lunch.
No.
Good deal. Now, you've got some workshops coming up. Do you want to quickly tell us about that?
So, the biggest thing for what I love to do is work with people who I want to help you bring structure into your life. And we do some workshops and retreats around how do you get really clear on what it is that you want in your life, and how do you simplify? And then how do we get the things off your plate that you don't need to be doing? And then if you can't get them off your plate, why? Like, what do we need to change? What do we need to change in you? What do you get to look at differently to get that off your plate, or change your mindset around it? Maybe it does have a purpose that it serves. So in these retreats that we do, we really lay out a lot of structure, which is so funny because so many people who are free spirits, as I would call them, or people who don't, who like to be spontaneous, have this idea that structure means that you can't be spontaneous. And what I would challenge you to think about is that if you actually had more structure in making sure that the things that are most important to you are taken care of, you have so much more free time.
You could be more spontaneous.
Totally more spontaneous.
It actually would work in your advantage.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So those will be coming up in the spring. But in the meantime, I actually have a 3-part video series that I was going to give to your audience.
Absolutely.
And it's really about that first step towards creating clarity around what you want in your life, what you need in your life, and being able to get rid of the other stuff.
Amazing. So keep an eye on HER614 Facebook page, because we're going to be sharing these things that Alicia can offer to us. Last but not least, how does someone get in contact with you?
So what I would say is, if you want the 3-part video series, you're going to go to consciousedge.com/HER614. Super easy. That's also my website, so you can catch me there, and then connect with me on LinkedIn. That's going to be the best way to get in touch with me, because that's where business women and entrepreneurial women are really hanging out.
Absolutely. That's great. Well, thank you so much for being with us. It was a joy. And I think we will continue this conversation after the show. Again, you're listening to HER614. Please follow us on Facebook at HER614. Like our page. And if you know any amazing women out there that should be on the show, please reach out. We will see you again next week. Good work. Good work. Good job.
Bye.
So that's cool.